What a weekend. We have Formula One, we have Formula E, we have MotoGP, we have IndyCar. It is going to be a busy weekend, and you already know I'm going to one of those races. Here we go. Let's get the adventure started. Starting with my Uber to the airport is purchased on my US Bank Altitude Reserve real-time rewards points. I'm Key, a credit card, points and miles enthusiast and travel lover. On my channel, I discuss the mistakes I've made, my future travel goals, and overall credit journey since 2016. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's race day. Head over to the track. If you guessed Formula E out of all of the other races that's going on today, I'll be in Miami at the Homestead checking out the Formula E race. Let's get going. The purpose of this video is to talk about the credit card perks, the points, miles, etc. that I've spent on this trip, my most used credit card, but also share my experiences at the Formula E race in Miami, which served as round 5 of 2025's Formula E World Championship. Getting right into it, I booked my flight and hotel about 47 days prior to my trip. Typically, I always like to book as far out as possible, but I wasn't sure that I was going to come to this event. To be honest, I'd never attended a Formula E race before and wanted to make it happen this year. So 47 days out, I actually did a multi-city ticket. So what that means is I actually left home, went to a location, changed location, and I'm returning home from location B. I used Southwest to make my trip happen. Right now, at the time of this video, I have a little over 7,000 Southwest Rapid Rewards miles in my account, but I did use, I whittled those down to book this. The next thing I booked as part of my trip was a hotel stay. I needed to stay somewhere near the track. There were lots of options. However, because I only booked this about 50 days prior, most of those options were sold out. So I was stuck with a Hilton property that had availability, and not stuck with, it was a great property for what I needed. And I spent 40,000 Hilton Honors Rewards points that I've had in my account for, I don't know how long at this point. While I was at that property, I did make use of one of my American Express Business Platinum quarterly credits where I needed to spend $50. I purchased snacks, water bottles, etc. because I knew I would be leaving Miami for Disney, where everything would be an exorbitant amount of money. Upon getting my hotel folio, I did get an email from American Express stating that I had successfully used my $50 of the Hilton credit that they provide quarterly. The next thing I needed to do was book a rental car. Normally, I would check my Hertz account, my National account, my Avis account to see if I had any rewards points that I could use towards this car booking. However, at all of the rental car agencies, my accounts are at 0 rewards points. So what I did was I used my Chase Sapphire Preferred, the travel portal, and I booked a Hertz rental car for about 5,600 Chase Ultimate Rewards points. This car I needed for approximately 24 hours. As I mentioned, I was going to be moving after the race from Miami down to Orlando to check out Disney. I'll talk more about how I got from Miami to Orlando in just a moment. I now want to share my experience at the racetrack if you are a Formula E fan or potentially an aspiring fan at all. So far, I've attended a few different races in my lifetime. Indirectly, I was at a Formula One race in Singapore a few years back. I recently went to the opening race of IndyCar 2025. And then most recently, the Formula E in Miami. Now, in comparison with, those other two, right? Those are traditional motor cars, super loud experience. The track was actually very quiet. These cars are zipping around the track. Hoping the McLaren's make it through turn 1 here. Some grass. But they are whispering. It was so cool to see that happen. These cars are going from 0 to 60 in I think about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. So, seeing them launch off the starting line was very cool. Outside of that though, my experience at the race was meh. I would give it a 3 out of 10 from a spectator perspective. Most of the stands were blocked off, and even the portions that weren't blocked off, you couldn't see the entire track. So spent a lot of time when they weren't right in front of me watching the TV screen. Something else that I wanted to talk about was the actual announcers at the venue. I don't know if it was just me, but I couldn't hear them. I needed the volume to be very, very loud. So I actually wished I would have brought my headphones. Maybe I could have tuned into the live version of the race while at the race, but I don't know, that for me, that takes it away. That's why I went to the race. I went to see it live, and I couldn't hear what the commentators were saying. I couldn't hear the team radios. It was just very odd to me, very odd as a spectator there. Outside of that, the actual venue was very nice. They had a lot of different vendors and things like that. I did a simulator race at the Team Nissan booth, which was very fun. I realized that even though I've been to like the Formula One bar and raced in those simulators, that gave me very false confidence. I could not control the electric vehicle simulator. I was in walls. I couldn't make turns. The braking was very difficult. But it's something like if I ever have the chance again to go into a simulator, I absolutely will. And I'll be asking more questions on how to do it right, because it was bad. It was so bad. Otherwise, lots of food vendors, diverse types of food, Greek food, Mexican, all the way down to seafood and things like that. So overall, I would give the event maybe a 4 out of 10. The perks were, like I said, those events that they had. Oh, they even had an E1 boat there, so you could see what that looked like. I don't know. That's a newer sport, at least to my knowledge. And wow, those boats are much bigger than they appear on TV. So a lot of cool electric stuff. Learned, some things about electric vehicles that I didn't know prior. I don't think I would attend the Miami race again. The pros, though. Free parking was basically right across the street. Took you maybe a 5-minute walk to get to and from that free parking lot, which I love. They were giving out disposable cups, reusable cups for sustainability purposes, and they had water refilling stations. So I found that as a nice touch. And outside of that, tough for me to have positive things to say about the actual race itself. Now, while I was at the event, I actually spent most of my time utilizing Apple and Samsung Pay, where I was utilizing my Wells Fargo autograph card. Now, this card earns 3x per dollar on pretty much everything. So that food that I was purchasing, beverages, etc. But also, I don't know, this is just a card that's right now my number one card in Apple Pay right now. That's all I'll say about Formula E. Would I go again? Overall, yes. Would I go to the Miami track? Absolutely not. I would definitely venture out, maybe the London track or one of the more established tracks. This sport's been around for about 10 years, so I'd go to one of those, maybe more thrilling, close head-to-head type racing track. All right, post-race. Had to return my rental car to the Miami airport and make my way to Orlando. I could have taken, I think it's like maybe a 1-hour flight from Miami to Orlando. Instead, though, I wanted to try out what's called the Brightline. This is a train service that runs throughout Florida, and it was actually very cheap. So, booked my ticket, like I mentioned, maybe about 50 days ago, and the race ended a lot earlier than I expected it to. So I actually did make a same-day change for my Brightline from like a later flight to an earlier flight. The total cost, for that, that change only cost me $10, resulting in my full Brightline ticket from Miami to Orlando being about $70 US. I utilized one of my US Bank Altitude Reserve credit cards, in which triggered the real-time rewards. So another way I utilized points and miles on this trip. The Brightline was very smooth, had no complaints, had an assigned seat, was able to catch up on all the weekend races that I had missed out on, such as the IndyCar qualifying, the Formula One qualifying, and the MotoGP qualifying races. And I'm about to pack up here at Disney and head home on my Southwest direct flight from Orlando to Providence, Rhode Island. Let me know if you have any questions about the credit card that I chose to use the most, booking experience that I had with either the Brightline, Chase Travel Portal, or utilizing those Hilton points. Let me know down in the comments which credit card you're using most often currently. turn on here.